Welcome back. Now, amid the battle to contain the Ebola virus, there are concerns that Africa is being dealt yet another blow to its image. Some media observers are taking issue with recent media reports that suggest the virus could be transported to the United States through smuggled bush meat from the West African countries that are affected. Now, for more perspective, I'm joined by Nii Akuetteh, a Washington, D.C.-based Africa policy analyst. And Mr. Akuetteh, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you very much for having me.
When I spoke to you last time, you were furious about some of the reporting from the continent. What's your issue?
I think my issue is that, especially Newsweek, had on its cover the picture of a monkey and saying that Africans in the United States were smuggling bushmeat contaminated with Ebola virus into the United States with zero evidence, no evidence at all. And it was fear-mongering of the worst kind. Ebola has not gotten into the United States. Nobody has gotten sick here. And I think that Newsweek was continuing a very long pattern by the Western media of painting Africa terribly. So yes, I was furious.
Yes, and actually when I read some other articles, there were others who reacted to that kind of reporting, and they're saying, first, there's a mischaracterization of how the disease transmits from animals to humans.
Yes.
And that actually, in this particular case, the monkey was not even a factor.
It wasn't. It wasn't. And Newsweek has been called on for that. But in fact, my other beef is that, you know, there are several million, maybe 2-3 million people of born in Africa who live here and their families. And I think that we need to speak up, because what I have noticed from doing this work for more than 30 years is that when you speak up, then you get a good dialogue. If you keep quiet, there is a bullying factor. They will keep picking up on you. And there's a lot of latent racism in people's minds already about what Africa is and what Africans are. So I think Africans need to speak up and show the facts.
I mean, I know we do a very fair reporting here at the Voice of America,
Absolutely.
but in your observing of how media reports on Africa, do you feel that this time of, this time and age, that there's still a deliberate distortion of how things are taking place in Africa with an agenda, really?
Oh, I think so. I certainly believe so. And again, my evidence Exhibit A is Newsweek. I mean, they were exaggerating, and it is clear to me that they were trying to stir up fear so that people will buy their newspaper saying, oh my God, this is terrible, let me read the details. So I think they did it just to increase their circulation, and there is a history of it.
Do you feel that if this was happening in other parts of the world, the reporting is a little different?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Even if we just take the question of viruses and disease, look, there are a lot of viruses that humans are susceptible to, and many of them come from nature. I mean, every year the United States develops new vaccines for flu. Right now is a flu season. Most of it jumps from poultry and in other countries like China. And you don't see Newsweek picking on Chinese Americans. You don't see them attacking the country of China. So I think this is deliberate, targeted at Africans. And once again, I think it's important for Africans to push back.
Yeah, so your beef here first is that you don't want to have Americans here having some kind of discomfort being closer to Africans who live here.
Absolutely. In fact, we went through some of this with HIV, you know, and so Ebola and they are not telling the truth about Ebola. You cannot get Ebola through the air. There are certain other diseases you can get through the air from other parts of the world. They don't focus on that. So again, I feel that this is targeted as Africans, and we don't want Americans being fed misinformation about Africans who live amongst them.
Okay, thank you, and we certainly will continue on our part to report as fairly as we always do. Nii Akuetteh is a Washington, D.C.-based analyst, essayist, and a student of Africa's international relations.